I made a video guide for Ridley shortly after Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was released back in early December. It was pretty well received, at least by me and my channel standards, bringing in over 40,000 views as of this writing, with over 200 comments. People were interested in learning Ridley, and I was excited to share what I had. It's been 2 months since I made that video, and for anyone interested, and I know there are a handful of you since every tournament video with me in it usually gets 10 times the amount of views as every other set, I still main Ridley. I'm enjoying him as much as I did since I first picked him up, and every day I use him, I learn something new and try to apply some new ideas to his game. I'm in the market for a secondary. Ridley is far from perfect, unfortunately, but I am in no way having a character crisis, and I am still just as smitten with the big ugly dragon as I was when I started. Now that I've gotten some decent tournament practice, I figured I might make a small update to my thought processes with the character. This video is a follow-up to my previous Ridley guide. The first one billed itself as a beginner's guide, which it was, and this video will be for some more learned thoughts and applications. The purpose of this video is more to be an update to the previous one rather than another full-blown standalone guide, so I'm going to rapid fire some thoughts, ideas, and observations I've had in the time since then. First, and this isn't meant to call anybody out, but I've gotten more comments in the previous video than I'd care to count saying that I didn't mention that Ridley's side B, Space Pirate Rush, can be cancelled on grab. I did. Here's the excerpt in full. Space Pirate Rush can also be cancelled by Ridley at any time after a successful grab with jump. There isn't much incentive for using this on stage, at least not that I've found, but this is useful if you land it off stage because it'll put Ridley's opponent into a bad position without putting Ridley himself at much risk. While I'm on the topic of Space Pirate Rush, I've noticed a quirk with it. If opponents wriggle out of Ridley's grasp while they're in the air, they pop out beneath Ridley. What this means is, while it's true that Ridley will die first if he commits and his opponent doesn't escape, it can actually be worthwhile to not manually disengage and commit if you think your opponent will try to mash out. It's easier for your opponent to escape if their percentage is lower than yours, but I'm not positive if there's a number threshold to this, or if it's as simple as which number is higher. If you're both on your last stock and your percentage is higher, this becomes a game of chicken between you two. If they match, which they'll be naturally inclined to do, odds are good that they'll die first. But if you don't and you commit, you'll die first. It introduces a very intense, high-stakes, split-second dynamic between you two. What I didn't make any mention of at all in the previous video, when I really should have, was Ridley's kill strength, particularly with his smash attacks. They're all absurd, and me not mentioning their absolute strength in my previous video was a real disservice to any aspiring Ridley. I'm completely serious when I say you should start looking for kills against midweights at around 70%. His forward smash, which my community has nicknamed the burp, disintegrates anyone it hits at less than okay percents. Here's a clip of me killing Cloud at 58% from left of center stage, and note the size of the hitbox. People think forward smash's hitbox is less than ideal, but Cloud was visibly beneath my feet and it still worked out for me. Up smash is also strong as hell and is invincible from his foot to his knee and has no sour spot. It's a very viable anti-air, so don't be afraid to whip it out against anyone trying to pressure you from above. If you want to use it on an opponent in front of you, you'll have to pivot first, which will be easy if you have smash stick, but it's asking a lot if you have tilt stick instead. It first hits on frame 12, which is moderately fast for a smash attack, so don't be afraid to use it earlier than you think you should. I've been using a lot more down smash than I used to lately. It's stronger than up smash and it has some enviable reach, but its frame data is the worst of the three, so it's not something to just whip out. That said though, down smash is very good at catching opponents at the ledge and sending them into the stratosphere, in part because his wings are invincible starting at halfway across, so recovery attacks won't clip him if you position him correctly. I'd say it's a good move for catching two-framing a recovery, but I'm not positive that my successes have all been catching ledge snaps. I think down smash just reaches. If you're too nervous to use a move as leggy as down smash, his forward tilt angled down will catch ledges as well and is much faster, but is also much weaker. Plasma Breath isn't as quick as some other fireballs like Mario's, but if you get a second to yourself and you don't think you can safely pressure your opponent, or if you get a hit but you don't think you can follow up with something, a fully charged Plasma Breath is a wall of safe pressure that your opponent has to either go over or has to shield. If they shield, you can either dash attack it and try to poke, or even break their shield if it's weak enough, or you can grab. If they go over, that's just free positioning for you. Be careful with when you use it, of course, and you don't always have to fully charge it. This is mostly anecdotal, but I've been using up throw a bit more often in my play than usual. If my opponent is at high enough a percent that I can't get a follow-up out of down throw, but they're at a low enough percent, or I get the grab closer to center stage, that I won't get any meaningful stage control out of throwing forward or back, I throw them up. Up throw does the most damage out of all of Ridley's throws at 14%, while his next most damaging throw is back throw at 13%. So it's not a tremendous difference, but between a neutral air, up tilt, and up smash, Ridley is pretty okay with having an opponent above him rather than off stage. Ridley's biggest struggles are when he's in disadvantage and getting juggled, and while he's recovering. He's a big boy and he's a heavyweight, so there isn't really much he can do about being juggled. It's just part and parcel to the character type. I've found very moderate success by trying to go to the ledge and then down airing straight past it, then recovering back up to it, but that's a dangerous game that just puts you from one tough position to another. Speaking of recovery, whenever I'm knocked far enough off stage that I need to spend some resources to get back, I've been trying to keep one thing in mind. Ridley does not have 2 double jumps. What he has is 1 double jump and 1 emergency jump that he needs to save for when the going really gets tough. If you're knocked into the corner, don't be afraid to air dodge and side B and use a jump and use up B to make it back, but do not use your second jump until you really need it. Ridley's recovery is slow and telegraphed, and you'll need everything to make it back against an astute opponent, especially if they have a counter and they aren't afraid to use it. That about covers it for all the littler things. All of those were relatively minor points that I had learned over the course of using Ridley these past few months. To summarize, Space Pirate Rush has some dicier elements to it that I hadn't realized until relatively recently. His kill strength and his smash attacks absolutely cannot be overstated, and Ridley has the freedom to be searching for kill moves earlier than you might think he should, and there is only so much you can do to try and help Ridley with his disadvantage and his recovery. With all that strength comes some pretty predictable weaknesses, and with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being focused more than ever on securing early stocks and de-emphasizing defensive play, and with Ridley's inflexible recovery, you only have so many options available before you have to start crossing your fingers that Sakurai will give our big purple space dragon a buff. Some viewers watching might be curious as to whether Ridley has any advanced tech or not. It's still very early in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's lifespan, and it's not really a fair metric to judge a character on whether they have advanced options after only 2 months. But all the same, it's natural to want to learn something both hype and effective, and then show it off at your next opportunity. That said, the answer is no, not really. If you can catch your opponent off stage at low percent without their jump, and I just listed 3 conditions that need to be met, so it's a very rare occurrence, you can secure an early kill with some forward air strings, but this isn't a new tech, and I even showed it off twice in my previous video. However, there are 2 new things I've been doing more lately. The first is that at very low percents, as in between 0 and 10, down throw is a 50-50 in the skewer. Your opponent can jump or air dodge away and reset to neutral, but if they air dodge in place or attack out of it, they'll take the dagger to the gut for an easy 2-hit 70% string. On some midweights and heavier, you can also try to extend that a bit with a neutral air, but only if it's sour spot. A sweet spot will hit too hard and send them too far to follow up on. The second thing is using forward air to drag opponents down and extend the string with something. Forward air is a multi-hit move, and because it uses Ridley's tail, it has some impressive range to it. If you can hit your opponent with the first or second hit, but not the third, they'll be dragged down in place and vulnerable to a follow-up. Unfortunately, forward tilt and down tilt both come out on frame 10, which is too slow for a true combo, but jab comes out on frame 4, which is, so you could theoretically use drag down forward air into a gentleman for a kill. You could also get a grab instead if you'd rather. So that about covers it. This was only meant to be a quick update on some options you can use as Ridley in general after having used him for months. If you'd like to see more content like this, and for more content on Atlantic Canada's Super Smash Bros. And their local scenes, be sure to subscribe to this channel. I've also recently done a character guide on Piranha Plant, and if you'd like a refresher on Ridley and some of his more basic tools, there's a link to his guide in this video's end slate as well. I'll see you next time.